Greetings, Nathan. Can I say it that way? You say Nāthan. Everybody,
Nathan is also fine.
If you don't know him, I've been aware of him for many years. He's very scholarly and has been on the astrological circuit for many years. And because he's been studying pretty much everything there is to know about astrology from our chat before. So I give you Nāthan Naicker. And you're talking to us from South Africa. Yes?
Yes, that's where I was based, but I was traveling in January in India and March, so I'm still in India because of, the situation at the moment.
You're
Yes, I'm looking
stranded.
forward to seeing Cape Town again soon.
Oh, bless you. And what is the status of the virus there?
It's pretty much the same everywhere else. People are lockdowning, people are not lockdowning. Depends how you feel, really, but I'm not taking any chances, and I've got so much work to do anyway, so yeah.
So give you a textbook and a computer and let you go, huh?
I'm happy. It's like research, like I've got time to do research.
That's exactly what I thought when I got locked down. I was like, thank you, Saturn. Time. That's what I've been asking for. And I hope I'm not responsible for anyone getting sick, but I love this.
Yes.
So you have come through every tradition of astrology. You started as a Western astrologer, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And who did you study with?
I started with Robert Zoller and DMA. I did it through one of his students in Las Vegas, Giacomo, and then with Rod Susskind in South Africa. I did formal studies with the both of them. So I got my DMA and I also got my diploma with Rod Susskind in South Africa, who basically, updated me to modern times and modern life.
That's pretty funny, given that he's a Sangoma. You wouldn't think the modern world would interfere with him very much.
Yeah, and that, I'm sort of like a priest in training in the Hindu tradition, so it's sort of interesting, how people connect.
Well, what drove you to, or didn't drive you, what led you then to get interested in the Vedas and then the Indian tradition of astrology?
Okay, well, as a child, I would help my grandfather in the temple that he built. And if you've ever visited a Hindu temple, you know that there are, icons or idols of the 9 grahas or planets there installed. And so my job was, cleaning them, and I would hear all the mantras and the chants. And so that was my childhood, basically, the first couple of years of my childhood. And so the first Jupiter return, I got into Western astrology. And then the second Jupiter return, I got into Vedic. So
it's interesting that you didn't start with Vedic with that as your background, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. In a way, I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't, because Western is so open and fluid, with life, and I think that's a very valuable perspective to bring to Vedic as well. Which is very structured and rules and things like that.
Very structured.
So,
and so you blend the two. Is that what you're saying?
I don't blend them. I just use them both separately in their own right. So, the charts look different. My screen looks different. It's all boxes and boxes, and that's the Vedic screen. And then if someone has a different question and I want to look at a solar return, a perfection, and a progression, then I switch into solar fire and then have a look there, and it's all circles and, circles and circles. So I like that because it proves to me that these are tools, for living. And it's the main thing is the person in front of you.
That's interesting. So you can switch seamlessly between the two. And they give you different information, or they correlate in some way?
They do correlate. It depends the level of detail that I want. So in Vedic astrology, the techniques are a lot more, they've been tried and tested for certain types of questions. So when someone asks one of those, complicated questions about, instead of doing a horary, I know that there's a chart for property in Vedic, and there's a chart for parents, and there's a chart for education, and there's a chart for sexuality, there's a chart for relationships,
Marriage,
and
babies,
so
yeah.
yeah, if you have a transit in your fourth house, what part of the fourth house is it affecting?
Yeah.
Is it affecting the mother or a parent? Is it affecting the house? Is it
The
affecting
basement.
the land, basement? There you go. So, or is it all of them? And so Vedic gives you different charts to look at those things specifically.
Good point.
So it depends on what people ask. And so it's important that we know our tools, right? And it's important we don't blame the tools either. So this is the learning that's been happening. As you know, as a practicing astrologer, you learn a lot from your client work as well. So by observing the two systems working with one individual, I've got a sense of when to go to what, depending on what I need to know.
Is the balance of your time in consultation, or do you do other things as well? Translate, write?
So I am studying Sanskrit. That takes time.
God bless you.
I know why. Doing a lot of research because, I like to look at charts of people I don't know. Again, looking at, can I predict children using Western and in the same chart using Vedic? What's the difference? How they work? What doesn't work? What does work? And because, in the West tradition, for example, for career or vocation, you'll often find just a big blob of a paragraph with like run-on lists of things that apply to career and vocation. And I think what's important and exciting in the world of Western traditional astrology right now is that a lot of testing is being done or should be done about, okay, of these, 15 techniques about vocation, which ones work better in what scenarios, which ones, and that stuff has been worked out in Vedic already because it's been uninterrupted.
And it's not at all worked out in Western. The only person who's even attempted it is Gauquilin that I know of.
So we need to have new studies. We need to have new research, and research and development should have a feedback loop with the practitioners, because then it enriches both of them. I know, wishful thinking, right?
No, I think we have many astrologers, apparently mostly recently born, that are very interested in the research edge of things, and in I don't know so much as, I think we've passed through the quantification era where people wanted to make it science, directly science.
Value, what? Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
But I think we have a lot of newborn researchers who aren't interested in practicing with people. They're more interested in, data. So I think we're coming around. This new generation is really cool.
Yeah, and I am doing my data science degree with IBM at the moment. So because I want to use it in the world of astrology. It just makes sense.
Oh, thank you.
If you want to take mainstream, you got to talk the language of the mainstream. And so that's one of the things. So when you asked about time, I'm doing 4 courses at the same time. My Vedic courses with mantras and studies, all of that, constructing mantras and things in Sanskrit. And then there's the research, and then rectification and client work is the bread and butter, so to speak, part of it. And that's the day.
By the way, everyone, Nāthan told me that it's 3 a.m. where he is because he's in India, not where I assumed he was. And he picked this time because he can get on with his day as soon as this is over. I wouldn't even be awake until 9.
Yeah, it doesn't happen every day, Terry. Okay.
Well, thank you, because I was really feeling like a slacker.
No. This you got me in a good week.
Oh, that's good to know. Well, you told me also that your talk, which is Where Are You Going? The Lunar Key to Life Direction and Mental Health, which intrigued me quite a bit, You said
Mm.
that that is from your Western knowledge, Western
Yes,
astrological knowledge.
yes,
Can you say a little
yes.
bit more about your talk?
Yeah, sure. It started off actually with my work with Venus. Um, because you get a lot of relationship questions, that's part of it. And so I dedicated a lot of time to looking at Taurus, Libra, and Venus, these signs, and the second house and seventh house and their connections in
Mm-hmm.
charts. And then what became a common point was, hey, the moon is exalted in Taurus, and that's a Venusian sign. And I wonder if there's something more about togetherness in that Taurus / second house conceptual kind of vibe here, where the exaltation of the moon is also the upliftment of the mind.
Oh,
Because the moon is the principle of flow, we know that.
hello.
It's the principle of connection with others and people. So the moon in the chart is kind of showing me how does this machine that is a person plug into the rest of life? How do they move and flow the rest of life, in both the growth and decay parts, of the thinking, of the emotionality. So that's what got me interested in the moon a lot, as the queen of the chart, because and I watched a lot of people making decisions, and clients that are in business making decisions, asking questions about business making decisions. And I find a lot of the time the moon really plays a big role in their decision making process, because it's the history lens that we carry of past
Of
impressions,
course.
memories,
Yes.
So if you had prawns that one time and it didn't end well, the next time somebody puts prawns in front of you, you're not going to have this long rational debate with yourself whether to have it or not. The mercurial process is almost pushed aside, and
Hmm.
the moon comes through very strongly. So
And
because
that's a
it's about
gut
protection,
reaction, as we say. That's a
it's a
gut
gut
reaction, which
reaction.
is the stomach, the
Yeah,
moon.
it's like how do you choose where to sit in a classroom? How do you choose where to sit on the bus? It's that comfort sensitivity with life. Where do I want to plug in on this bus kind of thing? And that extended
Hmm.
to the journey of life topic, as I'm on the bus of my body, I'm in the bus of my body, and I'm going through this journey of life. And how am I residing in here? What is my condition? What is the flow condition of this journey of my life? And the moon as that flowing water principle. And Hellenistic astrologers will know the whole idea of the ship and the steering, and with the ascendant and his ruler and all
Who's
of
the
that, and
captain? And yeah.
the all of those things. The nautical metaphor. Well, I was like, the moon rules waters, the moon rules ocean, the moon is the ruler of all of that, as the natural fourth sign of the zodiac ruler, and looking back at Lily with, deciding elections about when the ship should leave and things like that, the fourth house is important there. And the seventh house too, because it's an onward journey. The seventh house is the furthest away from the ascendant. So the seventh house, in a sense, is the most unfamiliar, necessary connections that have to happen in life. And that's what drives the flow. So I took those ideas and I said, let me look at the seventh house from the moon. Because what is the moon seeing as
I got to write this
where,
down
because
so
the
I can
water,
look.
yeah, the water always flows from high potential to low. And if the water is being held by the moon as the ruler of the night sky and the ocean and flow, then the seventh house from the moon has the largest potential difference, has the largest gradient of the flow, because that's the value. That's the sort of idea, that came into my sort of head, as you do when you're thinking about these things.
Yeah.
Um, and so I started to look at, because I found a lot of times it wasn't the ruler of the ascendant. It wasn't the ruler. That's the rational process from the ascendant to his ruler. And many times in the world today, where not all of us are born self-actualized, and not all of us are born with that ship already made for us, and not all of us are born with the captains of our ships around us. We all default to the mother. We all default to the moon because it's the comfort and protection going through the journey of life. So what I started to see was, oh my God, people are moving towards the 7th house from the moon. People, they are naturally moving, they're flowing in that direction. And the planets that are featured there around that area of the chart become a focus because it's almost like they're drawing. Those planets have a lot of pull, you know, emotionally. That's sort of the way I sort of conceived of it. And so that's what this talk is about, is exploring that dimension of life, that let's unhinge the chart from the ascendant, because you are not only the ascendant, your rational mind, your decision making, that mercurial, you know, the joy of Mercury is in the 1st house, that mercurial, uber rational part of you is that process. But it's not the only process that's happening inside you. There's a much bigger process that's sort of hidden underneath, but it's there all the time.
Why is the
And I
joy of the
wanted to
moon the
explore
3rd
that.
house? That doesn't make any
The
sense.
joy, because that's the principle of flux. You know, the 3rd house breaks the first mutable, you know, natural zodiac wise. You know, it's the first sort of, now we're breaking out of the home, 2nd house, closeness, comfort of the body, and we're now breaking free. I know in Vedic astrology, the 3rd house is called Duschikya Bhava. It is about disturbances, because it being the 12th house from the 4th house,
Yes.
the 3rd house plays a very important role in initiating all movements in life.
Oh, of
Because
course.
you're not in the 4th house, you're not just sitting there and looking pretty or comfortable, you know, in your comfort zone, but you're getting, something is prodding you to think differently.
And it's
Something, and
cadence,
that
so it's
internal,
climbing back up, you know, it's on its way
yes,
back. Yeah.
it's approaching that. So the principle of the 3rd house then becomes that the internal disturbance, for want of a better word, from a spiritual point of view, it's a disturbance, but for most of us it's normal, okay? That internal disturbance then manifests as movement and thoughts outside at different levels of our being. And it's the 12th
Makes
house from the 4th house. And you know, the 12th house and the 4th house have a interesting connection. We can talk a lot about these things, but the mind, the moon and the 12th house have a very special connection. But in this talk, I'm just focusing on ways that flow going. And that's
Well,
there's the
how do the
journey.
signs play in, or do they? Is it important what is on this? What is the sign of the 4th house, on the cusp of the 4th house?
Yeah, so typically if there's no planets in the sign, I will focus on the sign and the house that is signified by that,
Okay.
right? But if the, you know, the role of the sign then takes a different meaning, it's like the flow control of the journey of life, you know, the default. That planet that rules the 7th house from the moon is like, how do I say, it's like, it's got such a strong pull, and you'll find that people don't realize that they're actually even going in that direction. But allowing the moon to flow in the natural way towards those things improves your mental health, because things are not getting gunked up inside your head.
Ah,
You are
that's
making the necessary connections to the world outside. You're plugging into life in the way that your mind and emotions and heart naturally does, and that improves also the health, because the moon also is about the flow in the body, you know, and all
that's
sorts.
fascinating. Do you
So
think you
yeah,
could, as a way of kind of, you know, really introducing people to the meat in this talk, can you give me an anonymous chart example of one that really kind of solidified this technique for you, where you went, oh, this really works. This is a technique I've
let me
never
see.
encountered before, if you can call it a technique. Yes, a technique.
Let me see if I can bring up Slow computer, just bear with me. Come on, solar fire. Okay.
Nāthan is marooned in India because that's where he was in March when COVID-19 hit. So he hasn't been able to get home to South Africa. Not a bad place to be marooned.
Yeah, sure. Let me get database. Sorry, just
Oh, I caught
let's
you off guard. I thought
see.
you might have one just, on the top of your.
Well, if I want to have a very nice illustrative example,
You'll have examples in your talk, I'm
So
sure.
yeah, those I want to have very illustrative examples. So do you have the chart of Alexander Graham Bell?
Not on me.
Okay, so I don't know, I don't want to risk sharing my screen because of the connection.
You
But
can talk
in
me
his
through it.
chart, can I describe it right? So he's Pisces rising, all right? And it's the first chart in my database, so, Alexander. So let's see. Oh, yes. Okay. So his Pisces rising with, a bunch of planets in Pisces. There's Saturn, Sun, Mercury, and Venus. No, Venus is 0 degrees of Aries. So Saturn, Sun, and Mercury are in the first sign of Pisces. And in the 7th sign of the chart in Virgo, he has the moon.
Okay.
Right. So the moon is saying, now I don't care about the moon because that's who you are. And we're not born really knowing who we are. So people talk about the moon sign is like this and the sun sign is like that. And look, you're not born with that awareness. It's something that is existential, but I want to know what you're going to do with it. I want to know where you're going to go with that. It's not enough to tell me I like to bake cakes. Like, are you going to sell it? Are you going to smash it? What are you going to do with it? Right? How are you plugging in? And so his moon is at 24 degrees of Virgo. And directly opposite it is Mercury in Pisces at 24 degrees of Pisces.
Wow, partile.
Yes, it's a partial opposition. And this Mercury rules his 4th sign and 3rd house of Gemini. And this Mercury also rules his 7th house, obviously. So what becomes important for me to tell someone, if Alexander came to me, he would tell me all about his inventive ability and all of that because, Mercury is in its joy in Pisces, so it wants to cross boundaries in some way. Fine, good.
It's in its fall in Pisces, is it not?
Yes, because it's not going at it in a conventional way.
Oh, I
he
see. Okay.
He had a lot of trials and, for that time, it was good for scientists to sort of have a Pisces Mercury because you were anyway doing things on your own, and
True. It was
you
all experimenting and
exactly.
flowing. It was all
You got
flow.
to sort of sleep on it and think outside the box a bit and be open to receive inspirations and things like that. So it doesn't follow the normal circuitry that Mercury would like in Virgo. So, and really, his life is his experimental early life didn't really follow anything conventional from that point of view. But the Mercury here as ruler of the 4th sign and the 3rd house, you find that so one of the parents is going to be important.
Okay.
Because sometimes 4th house, I will take his mother, and sometimes I will take it as father, depending on the chart. But here, because this 4th house ruler is in a feminine sign, I'm going to take this Mercury Pisces as the mother. So here, what I would say is that the 3rd house and the 4th house being in Gemini, that his whole thing started with trying to assist his mother to speak and communicate. That was the crux of it for him.
And is that in his bio? Is something to do with his mother?
Yes, it's on the Wikipedia page as well. His experiments, because his mother couldn't communicate, she was also deaf. So he tried, all sorts of audio, like, vibration in the forehead, and he was testing all sorts of things with audio. It moved into other dimensions later on, but the root of it was and this is where the compassionate side of the Pisces Mercury also comes through, is that it's in a sort of service mode, like I'm doing it because I want to improve. And this is what I'm saying is, yes, you could say, well, Mercury's in the chart, Nāthan, you can say that no matter what. But my point is, it is opposite the moon.
Yes.
It is carrying the full flow of that flood, that if he opens that floodgate, everything else falls into place.
Wow.
And that's sort of the point.
And he did.
That's sort of the point. And he
that
did.
that was the trajectory of his whole life from that.
Yeah. From that moment on. So it's things like this. It's not just a Mercury in the chart. You've now, it's got a different status. And it's not essential dignity. I mean, whatever. It's got, the queen is looking at that with full desire, saying, I want you. You're the connection that's so important on this journey of life. And in his case, it's a part-time, which is very strong.
And you just picked, you just picked this out of your solar fire database just now, didn't you? I just picked it up
here now. And in his chart, it's very strong because Jupiter is in a sign of Mercury and Mercury is in a sign of Jupiter. So the bounty and the expansion and the intelligence and the academic development, I mean, it all plays out. Yes, the detriment of Jupiter and detriment of Mercury did play out in the patterns and the lawsuits and all sorts of things going on there, which is still not really clear today, to be very honest. You know, but that's one illustration I can sort of give you on the spot.
That is absolutely brilliant. I'm like, damn, Nāthan, now I have to sign up for another class. Doing these interviews is bankrupting me. I'm like, I want to go see everybody that I've heard. You know? Everyone I've talked to, I'm like, yeah, I have to go to that talk too.
Oh my.
This is really
this is
cool.
good for the world of astrology. Hey, we're having all these good things happen in the world.
It is, yes. And you know, this conference, I helped with the very first one. This is the 5th one, but we invented conferencing online. And it was a great solution to the fact that astrologers have to use their own money to go and present at conferences. Conferences are not a money-making thing. You know, it's kind of exploitive. It's great for the audience, but it costs everyone a lot of money. So now we have no other choice until we get in touch with the virus, but we have lots of experience. and adding the simulcast this year, I think, is wonderful. So I don't know how they're going to manage people together, but it's smaller pods of people together for live, you know, talks. So I think it's we're continuing to build a model for the future. Because I mean, conferences, I still want to be with my people, you know, I still want to get on an elevator with people who are talking about trans-Neptunians. You know, that's when I feel like I'm on my own planet.
Of course.
Those couple of days a year when I'm with those people. And we can't have that right now.
Where else can we get that in the world?
This right now, this. I mean, you and I can even bump elbows.
I think the last IAA in 2016. Yes, let's do it. There you go. Yeah.
Well, your talk is going to be on November 7th. So you've got a Saturday slot. I believe November 7th is a Saturday, and all of the talks are in Eastern time zone. So it's 1:30 to 3, nice mid-afternoon. The talk is called Where Are You Going? The Lunar Key to Life, Direction, and Mental Health. And I hope you fill up your room, your virtual room.
Yes, I didn't go into the mental health with that example, you know, but of course we don't know his
example.
It's a client chart, so because the mental health stuff I've developed with clients, because with public people you don't have the feedback on that personal side of their life. So
that will be interesting.
That stuff will be part of it, because essentially if whatever that planet is, and you've got to find which one it is not turned on, there's no flow. There's just no flow. And you may be very busy with the ascendant ruler and doing all those things, but it's very robotic. It's very robotic. You want the juice.
Now I'm
You
really
want
worried
the,
about my Capricorn moon singleton. It's probably not very healthy.
I actually tell people that a Capricorn moon is having the most flow potential because
It's
it's
opposite.
looking at its own sign. It's looking at
Yeah,
Cancer.
yeah.
It's like
Well, it
I'm the
happens.
mother to. I'm a professional parent. This
It's
is
the
what
only
happens.
it's the only earth in my chart, so it's really important, and it's very loud. You know how most moons are unconscious? Mine is very out there. And people will sometimes
I'm
think I'm
glad.
a Capricorn. Seldom, but every now and then. But
Okay.
it's louder than most moons.
Well, to tell you the truth, you might be feeling that you're a Capricorn, but I'm here on the 7th house side of your moon, and all I've been feeling is Cancer this whole time.
My Cancer,
Because
yes, my
that's the
midheaven.
flow. That's the flow. Yeah, that's the flow.
I love it. It's great. Well, I am very excited about your talk, and I want to thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today. You'll get a
Thank you
copy of
very
this
much.
recording if you want to use it to promote your talk. And I hope that you will join us. You've got a great afternoon slot. I don't know where you'll be then. Hopefully in November you'll be home. I don't know what time
Yes,
of
hopefully I
day
will be.
it is for you, but
I'm
we
also
do.
teaching. I'm teaching with IAA as well,
Are
Vedic
you? What are you teaching?
astrology. I'm doing a certificate introduction to Vedic and then 2 diploma courses furthering that into Vedic. That's being offered with IAA. So
Oh, excellent.
I'm busy trying to figure out the Moodle and all that at the moment.
Are they? Oh,
But
Moodle. Moodle is a noodle. I dislike it very much.
Moodle is a doodle, yes. But so I'm glad I've been with IAA now since 2016, and I think, as you said, where the world is going, it's online.
Yes. What was I gonna? Oh, we have a foyer. This is our hospitality suite for the conference. Have you done it
Okay.
before? Have you done a Breaking Down Borders conference before?
Yes, in 2016, was it there?
I'm sure it was. Yes. I don't remember if
I
I
think
was hosting it or not then.
after my talk, I
Usually,
stayed home for a little while because I was in London at the time.
yes. Well, if you can stop by after your talk, before your talk, anytime during the conference and introduce yourself, it's really a
Sure,
great place to
sure.
just have a casual chat with the audience and other speakers. Bring
Great,
your
I
own
will do
booze.
that. Oh, yes. We're
It'll
gonna
be
flow, don't worry.
tea this time in the afternoon. Well, thanks again.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks
I
a lot.
hope to meet with you again someday.
Yes, and a cap. Take care.